What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about a good versus bad 10-yard out route. So we're going to be talking about some of the things that will get you covered on a 10-yard speed out route where this quarterback's throwing this thing right off the third step, and some of the things that can get you open, especially against zone coverage. So this is coverage I know a lot of you guys see. You guys leave that in the comments, and I appreciate all the feedback. So I hope this video gives you guys some value. Let's get started. But also, fellas, if you guys want to get faster, more explosive, improve your grip strength, improve your explosion at the top of the route and off the line, fellas, check out that very first link in the description for a 2-month wide receiver gym bundle. So it's 2 months of all the workouts that wide receivers need to do specifically for wide receivers in the gym. So again, hope we get you guys on that soon. Very first link in the description helps with your speed, explosiveness, hands, top of the route, flexibility, overall just power on your routes. So I hope we get you guys on that soon, fellas. Very first link in the description. Let's get started. So first route here, let's take a look at it. This is the one that ultimately gets covered, right? Now there are a couple key things that we didn't do on this route. Then we're going to look at the good version of this from Calvin Ridley. So again, I'm just pointing out the differences between these two routes. Obviously, this is a very, very talented receiver playing starting in the NFL. So again, this is probably just a bad rep. Everybody has a bad rep, but I want to point out the key differences and why the second one is what gets you separation. So the main thing against this route, especially when it's a timing like 10-yard out, 6-step route, quarterback ain't waiting. He's getting this thing out of his hands right now. So it's my job to force this DB to turn his hips or backpedal fast, and I get out of this break fast. So you see, when I come off here and I'm pushing vertical and I'm getting up to this DB, off the line, this is great. Great pad level, great stride, but can we maintain this throughout the entire route? And that's what he ends up not doing, which is what doesn't get him separation. Because look what it starts to do to this DB. Starts to get him to turn those hips, right? But what does he start to do with this pad level right before the break? He starts to raise it, and his chest starts to get up high, and he starts to lean back, and he starts to turn a little bit early before this ball's out. Now, that's what makes this DB sit. That DB is no longer in a backpedal stance. That DB is, I am going to drive on this speed out stance. So that's what we got to clean up as a wide receiver, is that I got to push vertical, and until that last second, I'm out of that break, right? If you're rounding the out, that's a different story. But if you're rounding this out, let's say he's rounding this out, right? So let's say he's not making just this one hard cut like what he does. Let's say he's rounding it at 8 up to 10, because I know some of you guys work that. I got to keep a good pad level. I cannot come up into this route and be leaning back and be slowing down and already giving away the break with my shoulder and my hips, because that DB will drive on the ball every single time, no matter how good of a ball that quarterback throws. This is such a tough ball to throw for a quarterback with good timing, putting it at a spot if the receiver does not run a good route, right? So if I start to lean back, I start to slow down right before my break, and then I make this cut, and you see he makes that cut, his hips and shoulders are already getting turned out of this. That takes away the explosion of this cut. The explosion of the cut is when your hips and shoulders are committed vertical, and I have speed into it with good pad level. That's what forces your body. You hear me talk about it all the time. You want to be sudden. You want to have a sudden stick. You want to have a sudden break. What gets you to that point is when you have your hips and your shoulders fully committed to the break. You're in stride, you pop this thing off, and then you accelerate out. That's the key. That break point right there is something that can be trained. It's not a natural like athleticism thing that guys just have. Some guys are better at it than others, but it can be trained, and it comes from your speed into the break, having ankle, knee stability, all that stuff, right? Working that stuff. That's why we have those specific gym exercises for wide receivers, because that's the stuff that it's going to work on. But specifically, I need good pad level, no indicators to move this DB, and that's what we don't have. So when I come off here, I also want to point out, you see how his arms go wide. When his arms go wide like that, that doesn't give me any acceleration. I want to be ripping this left arm and ripping my elbow almost behind me to rip my hips and to have some acceleration out of there. But if I don't have any explosion, right, going into the break, and then I don't have any acceleration, DB will be all over this thing. So I got to make sure, fellas, the main keys: pushing vertical, good pad level into the break, don't raise my chest up, don't expose my numbers. That's the key. Don't expose my numbers. Number 2, don't turn your shoulders and hips too early, because that's a dead indicator of where you're going to a DB. That's why he's going to sit on this thing and drive. And number 3, I got to have speed. I cannot slow down, because the second you start to slow down, the second the DB starts to slow down. It's like we talk about this all the time, like a sluggo route, right? When you make that break on that slant, you better be freaking fast for 3 steps to a slant to drive that DB down so you can pop this thing off. But if you break on a sluggo and this portion of the sluggo right here is choppy and it's nice and slow, I'm sitting on it as a DB, fellas. We're not trying to get you ready for a crappy DB. A crappy DB won't know the difference. He won't be able to get off this break anyways, right? A good DB is going to know what to look for, going to know to look for that speed change in you, and he's going to drive on this ball. And that's what we got to try to avoid, okay? So again, you see ultimately this thing probably could have been picked off, but he's not open, right? And this is a very, very tough throw for that quarterback when I don't get enough separation on my route, okay? Let's watch the thing full speed. Again, Very talented receiver. He's playing at the next level. I never played in the NFL, so obviously he's clearly very, very talented. It's just trying to point out the differences between this route and the next route. I never want to come off as that guy like these guys aren't talented, because they 100% are talented. They're some of the best in the world at what they do. It's just everybody has a bad rep, and hopefully you guys can learn from those reps so you can apply it to your game. That's the whole point of this. So it's watch at full speed. So again, coming off here, raising that chest up, just break wasn't explosive enough, right? So now let's look at Ridley here. So same scenario. Split his cut down, 10-yard out. Let's watch it. Let's take a look at it. So again, we see the difference. You see how smooth Calvin Ridley is, and he's just off this thing. That is the separation that we need right there. This makes the quarterback's life so dang easy back there. This is the easiest throw Matt Ryan's ever had in his life, because it's such a good route, and it's such a good way to get open when you know what to do. So when he comes off the line, I want you to notice his pad level and his speed. And this might be the difference between, like, you look at the next level, right? Like, all those guys are freaking good, but you got those elite guys, and then you got those guys who are just really freaking good. And on a field with a bunch of high school guys, they would be outstanding. On a field with a bunch of college guys, they'd be outstanding. But when you get to that next level and you got a top 5 guy like Ridley, this is a great example of just how smooth they are with their routes, right? So you see when he's coming here, the pad level never changes, the stride never changes, and he never slows down, right? There's never a change in his pad level. And where's the DB supposed to be looking? He's supposed to be looking at his hips. So if I don't have a change in pad level and I'm actually able to push vertical, I don't lean back, I don't slow myself down, I don't chop my steps, that's what forces this dude to think, hey man, I don't want to get beat over the top, I'm an off coverage. That's what we got to threaten him with. And Ridley does something very unique here. He kind of uses this little like vertical step, like vertical stem, or what's the name for that? Like a pressure step, like he uses pressure step or vertical set. That's the word I'm looking for. Vertical set, where he's giving that move to the inside, acting like he's going to push up vertical to get this guy to move. Because maybe a couple times I've ran a fade like this and I close the distance, I give him that vertical set to the inside, and then it's just a race back up here. That's what we're trying to make it look like. You got to make everything look like what? Everything look like a fade until we get out of this break. It's got to be no indicators with your pad level, no indicators because I started chopping my feet, can't slow myself down, and I got to be able to get out of this break smooth. And I want you to see how sudden his cut is, right? He uses that vertical set. Look how sudden that cut is. It's very sudden. He does open up that shoulder and that hip a little bit, but again, that's more so him pushing vertical to the outside to try to self-fade off of that vertical set step, right? And so again, he pushes out of there, and see how his arms stay tight. Arms don't flail out. Arms don't raise outside of his frame. He's ripping that elbow, ripping this opposite elbow, because what is it? It is a race to this spot. What if this DB played it perfectly, but I'm still able to get some separation? I still got him in a back pedal. I should win every single time. If I get that DB in a back pedal, I should never lose. But I get him to sit, I get him to stop his feet and drop his hips and squat down, then he's got a shot, right? He's got a shot to undercut it, unless it's an absolutely perfect throw of a ball where only our guy could get it from a quarterback perspective. But great job ripping his arms out of there by Calvin Ridley and being able to accelerate and come back to this ball. This is a hell of a route. This is a perfect example of what to do on a 10-yard out route. Let's watch the thing again, full speed. Great job using that vertical set. Great job staying in stride. Great job no indicator at the pad level, and great job running those arms out of that break. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. And again, if you guys want a full wide receiver 2-month long, it's 2 months of gym workouts that wide receivers need to do to improve your ankle mobility, ankle stability, knee stability, explosiveness off the line, speed at the top of the breaks, and overall acceleration. And it'll help you improve your grip strength so you get better at catching. Check out that very first link in the description, fellas. Hope we get you guys on that soon. I'll see you guys next time.